And welcome to the podcast. I'm May.
I'm Max.
And I'm Ben. And we've been had. We were had.
We were had again. Past tense had. Can you believe it?
There are twists and there are turns.
Defleshed is a standard death.
Oh, that's fun.
We were had.
We were. So today we're going to talk about D.B. Cooper, the mysterious case of D.B. Cooper. That's actually already, it's kind of not the right name. D.B. Cooper. All right,
That's insane. His name is part of the mystery. They even fucked up his name. That's how much
his name is part of the mystery.
That's the whole mystery. Good night, folks. No.
Basically, Dan Cooper is the alias of a person who hijacked a Boeing 727 on November 24th, 1971. The reason why I said D.B. Cooper is because one of the first journalists who covered this story accidentally wrote D.B. instead of Dan, and then for some reason D.B. stuck.
What'd they get fired?
The news punched up his name. They punched up his name. They gave him a cooler
D.B.
name.
is cooler.
Dan Cooper didn't
D.B.
play.
is D.B. is cooler.
That's a sexy name I can read about. Dan? I don't think so.
That is a weird sort of Starbucks style like mishearing when they're like Dan, a perfectly standard name, and they're like, oh, did you say DB?
Yeah.
Is that you must have said DB?
What's weird is DB Cooper is very reasonable for someone to call Dan Cooper. Like he could be Dan Bradley Cooper, and they just like DB is like a thing.
Dan Bradley Cooper, yeah. Okay, so a few details about what happened. Basically, it was a flight from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. He hijacked it. It was in the afternoon. So basically a guy who looks like, it sounds like there's a police sketch of him, but he sounds like a very sort of straight-laced 40s, almost like Mad Men-y character, white guy.
Milquetoast.
Yeah, he also wasn't fucking around because that's like an hour flight. So he had to hijack that like immediately. Did he hijack it like when they were taking off?
Yeah, I think it's only like a 30-minute flight.
He handed the stewardess a note, and then she thought it was just like a sad businessman give him the number, so she didn't look at it, and then he was like, "You're gonna want to look at that note, honey."
Yes.
Oh shit.
That's exactly right.
Wait,
so
get into that.
basically,
Tell me more about that.
Okay, so Cooper gets on the plane. Plane takes off, and as you pointed out, very early on in the flight, this man, under the alias Dan Cooper, hands the stewardess named Florence Schaffner a note. She assumes that it's like this sad, lonely guy handing her a phone number. So she sort of moves on. And then he says, as Max said, "Miss, you better look at the note. I have a bomb."
It's kind of hot. I'd be like, I'll go on a date. I'm taking the bait.
A bomb in your pants?
Yeah.
Is it in an unorthodox pickup line? Sure, but I appreciate the originality.
Does it work? Probably.
Yeah.
It plays.
I like a guy who takes risks. That's pretty risky. It's hot.
Oh, as this story goes on, this man becomes more and more attractive.
Okay.
He is a stone cold fox. The guy is cool under pressure. The guy's cool.
There is one very non-cool part about it, but
We'll wait for
it's
that.
a tiny detail that I will reveal later.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a fucking...
Okay, save it. So Dan Cooper shows Florence Schaffner, the flight attendant, he opens his briefcase. He has a briefcase. He opens the briefcase a little bit, and it's 8 red cylinders, according to her. It sounds like he kind of just flashed it very quickly, but at least it was enough to, confirm, at least in her eyes, that the guy really had a bomb.
Okay.
So
also,
she
I look
informs...
at this. They weren't doing regular bag checks at the time, so it's very reasonable for someone to just walk onto a plane with a full-blown bomb in their attaché.
Yeah, the other thing that I saw is that there were tons of hijackings at the time, which I was unaware of. A lot of them going to Cuba, people insisting on going to Cuba.
Yeah.
And it seemed somewhat commonplace. On the Wikipedia page, they're like, this wasn't some typical take me to Cuba hijacking. And then there's a whole Wikipedia page for, quote, take me to Cuba hijackings. A fairly significant Wikipedia page.
That's
pretty
amazing.
Large. The reason why they bring up the Take Me to Cuba actually on the Wikipedia page is to contrast it with Dan Cooper, because Dan Cooper was not yelling, was not, very, he was demanding, but he didn't sound very demanding. Apparently the whole time he's very calm. The other thing, I forgot to mention this detail, he orders a bourbon soda before he
Yeah.
tells,
So
I mean,
cool.
again, it gets
Very
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to hear something even cooler? He gets another one after
at the
he's
end.
in the process of hijacking the plane.
I love this guy.
So the guy's at least tipsy, I assume, while he's, pulling off the heist of the century. So
What I love about it, too, is that the passengers on the plane don't know what's happening.
oh, that's a great part. So that's coming up
yeah.
right now. After closing the briefcase, he states his demands, which is $200,000. It feels a little Austin Powersy, by the way. That seems pretty low.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, is this the dorky part you were mentioning? Because that's what does he want to be poor?
You'll know the dorky part when I get there.
Adjusted for inflation, though, in 2019, that was like $1.5 million.
Okay, I could fuck with that.
It's a decent chunk.
He wrote negotiable American currency. And that actually comes back when it comes to trying to figure out who he was. The fact that he said American, because that's a little weird. Obviously,
What
it's
does
American.
negotiable mean? What does that mean?
I don't know, I guess he would have gone for like 50,000 if you really haggled with him. I'm not exactly sure what negotiable
Yeah,
means.
why is he upfront being like, listen, $200,000, but I'll come down?
Yeah, you're right. We already said it's low, and that's his high offer.
I'll do 150 in yen.
So, yeah, Bitcoin. All right. So he's at, okay, so he demands the money, 4 parachutes, 2 primary, 2 reserve. I don't know what the difference is. And a fuel truck standing by in Seattle to refuel the aircraft upon arrival. So the idea is they're going to land the plane in Seattle, they're going to refuel, and then he's going to take the plane to, well, actually, he says he's going to take the plane to Mexico City. That's the plan, is to go to Mexico. To presumably escape with his money. Then Schaffner, the flight attendant, tells the pilots we've got an issue. And when so here's another cool thing. When she comes back, Cooper's wearing dark sunglasses.
I love
So
that.
he had already shown her his full face, and now he's wearing sunglasses.
It was just for the look. There's no
And I'll
other.
take 200,000, looks to camera, puts on sunglasses.
Wait, I'm confused. This might be the dumbest question ever, but the $200,000, does that come? Where are they getting? Is that like on the aircraft?
No,
Are they
it's a
bringing
great
that-
question. Basically, he's telling whoever is on the ground in Seattle that someone's got to figure out a way to scramble $200,000 so that by the time that we land, that it's going to be there. They're not going to land in 30 minutes, just to say. They're going to circle around the airport for a little while. And this is what Max was saying before. The pilot does not inform the people on the plane that the plane's been hijacked. He says that there's some turbulence issue.
Wow.
I know the exact
And then
word.
they fly around for a few hours. Well, it's supposed to be an hour.
few hours.
They're just darting around.
Minor mechanical difficulty is what they told the passengers.
Wow. And they're like, I was supposed to be at dinner, like looking at the Space Needle fucking a wicked long time ago.
Well, I have now missed the birth of my child. Thank you for these minor difficulties.
35 other passengers on the plane. Okay, so
That's it? Wow, small plane.
another, thing that I guess becomes significant later on, a different flight attendant named Tina McClough says that Cooper seemed familiar with the terrain because he said, quote, looks like Tacoma down there. I don't understand how that's familiar. Tacoma is where the airport is, so I feel like he literally saw an airport and he's like, planes.
Guy did his research.
Guy knew his shit.
The
Yeah.
guy knows.
This same person, McClough, said that he didn't seem nervous. He seemed rather nice. He was never cruel or nasty. He was thoughtful and calm all the time.
I like this guy.
This guy's
He
cool.
makes me feel safe. He makes me
It's
feel
just a business
safe while he's
transaction.
hijacking.
And do you want to hear
Yeah.
the next thing? He then offered to request meals for the flight crew during the stop in Seattle.
That's great.
Oh my god.
Thought
You guys
that the
want
flight
anything?
crew he thought they
steak?
might get peckish.
Lobster? Anything? Some oysters?
So FBI agents assemble the money. So that's what Mae was asking before. $200,000 from several Seattle area banks. So I guess some asshole is just going from bank to bank, robbing them. I don't know how he's
legally
the
robbing
FBI's
these
going in
banks.
there. Give me all your money. I'm the FBI. They're like, wait, what?
They did some stuff. We'll get into this a bit, but some tracking devices in the money. But we'll get to that.
That never works.
And anyway, so they land, they refuel, they get the parachutes. Like I said, Cooper wants to go to Mexico City, but he's informed that that there's a limit to how far the plane can go, I guess with a certain amount of fuel. They need a second refueling. They can't go straight to Mexico. So then they're bargaining with Cooper, and Cooper's like, all right, why don't we just land in Reno?
Oh my God. And how is this bargaining going down? Because like you said, like he was just talking to them in front of people because no one else knew that it was.
Walkie-talkie, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
they're talking to air traffic control, but he's
Right.
not in. Is he in the cockpit at this point, or is he just handing notes to the stewardess and she's just going back and forth? This poor woman's like,
Yeah,
okay, they said it's gonna need a couple minutes.
I feel like it's kind of unclear. I wish I knew the answer. I feel like they're sort of stuck in the cockpit, the pilots, I mean.
I love
But-
the idea of him passing notes throughout this whole thing, and like one of them is to the hostess, and he's like, "Do you want dinner? Yes or no? Like check a box." Like,
He's doing like the Love Actually scene with a bunch of like really big cards. So approximately 7:40 p.m. So they land at approximately 7:40 p.m. They go back up into the air. 5 people are on board when they go back in the air to go to Reno.
and they have the money now.
They what? Sorry.
They have.
Oh
the
yes,
money in the
he's got the money.
parachute.
He's got the money. Yeah. It looks like it's pilot, flight attendant, McClough, the one I mentioned earlier, or the second flight attendant I mentioned, co-pilot, and a flight engineer. So those are the 5.
Okay.
Now, there are 5 planes tracking the hijacked plane. So I don't know how Cooper's getting out of this or how he thinks that he's getting out of this.
He's wasted.
Oh, he's trashed.
He's like, I'll figure it out. I don't know how, but
He's completely trashed. So he jumps. Is Max frozen?
Yeah.
No.
Sorry, I was looking at my text. How do you? What's up?
look alive, Max.
Who are you
Sorry,
texting? Who are you texting?
Honestly, it wasn't even a text. It was a news notification. Something about Mitch McConnell being an asshole.
My God.
Something about Mitch McConnell?
That's like everyday news.
Max, I'm reporting news straight from 1974.
Stay
No,
current.
71, November 24th, 1971. Yikes. You're right, it is old. So he jumps out of the plane. None of the pilots, none of these 5 planes behind him see the guy jump out of the plane. And at approximately 8 p.m., so I guess 20 minutes after that second flight took off, they notice that the apparatus has been activated for him to remove himself from the plane. And
So he's in a parachute flying down.
he's got a parachute. He requested parachutes, and they gave it to him. And there's a sudden change in air pressure on the plane, and so I guess that's what informed these other 4 geniuses on the plane that someone's just bailed. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Do you think
those
those
are the
4
events.
Do you think that those 4 planes were involved?
The
The planes that were following them, like to watch for him, like they said that they didn't see him jump out. How could that possibly be? Do you think that maybe somehow they were involved or paid off with this small ass chunk of change?
I don't know. Right? He just gave it. By the time it's over, Cooper's got like $500.
But like, how could that possibly be that they didn't see it?
Maybe
where did
they
he
were
pa-
far
sorry to interrupt,
behind.
but where did he parachute out of? Like, where was he? Like, what was the estimated drop zone?
The estimated drop zone is somewhere near Castle Rock, Washington. So still in Washington State.
I thought he wanted to go to Mexico or Reno. Why did he go off so soon?
He jumped quick. This guy doesn't
threw him
waste
off
time.
descent.
He hijacked quick. He jumped quick. Yeah.
He's drinking
He
a
didn't want to
bourbon
go to
soda the
Reno.
whole
No
way
one
down.
wants to go to Reno. He's not going to Reno.
That's not a sexy place to go for DB.
No.
So 66. So now we get into the investigation. And basically, there are a few developments that have happened since 1971, but this is kind of the spoiler. This is the only unsolved case of airline or plane piracy in history.
Wow.
Good for you, DB.
So we still don't really know. There are theories. So I guess to simplify it, there are two main questions here, right? What happened to DB Cooper? Did he survive the jump? Did he, end up going somewhere and living out the rest of his life with this chunk of change that would be gone in a year? Or, right. So did he die or did he survive? And then the second thing is, if he did survive, or I suppose even if he didn't survive, who the hell was this guy?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
also, the FBI, those losers, they were like, they were like, he definitely died. You know what? He died. That's why we didn't catch him. That was their theory. They investigated this for 40 years, but the whole time they were like, he's dead.
God.
One problem with the death theory: no body, no parachute.
Yeah.
Wow.
No remains of this guy.
And
So-
he parachuted over land, not water, correct?
He did parachute off water onto land. However, there's like a million different reenactments. I don't think anyone actually reenacted it, but like a person.
Yeah.
But I think they probably sent like a monkey or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had so many monkeys have died in the past 50 years to try to find who DB Cooper is.
That's amazing.
So, but they have tried to like track if there's a way he could have ended up in the water or, with a certain wind speed or I'm just throwing out
With
terms
the
I don't
way
know.
this guy had this planned out, there's no way he's dying because he miscalculated the chute. Let me tell you that.
So that's the thing. At first, they're theorizing that this guy's, they're really, I guess, overestimating what this guy is capable of. They're like, this guy's a parachute
Yeah. Is he
PhD or
military?
whatever. And then later on, as the years carried on, and maybe this is again the thing where the FBI just wants him to seem dead, but afterwards they give him no credit, and they're like, this guy doesn't know a parachute from fucking
A big piece of underwear.
a
or
big
whatever.
piece. Yeah.
My grandma's
Big
bloomers.
broad's underwear.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, is didn't he like also cut the other parachutes so no one can go after him? I mean, the guy was thinking ahead.
He was thinking ahead. He's got the sunglasses. I'll reveal, I'll say it in a second. So,
The least cool part of this, man.
the least cool part of it is coming up. Just
Oh, I'm
get
excited.
ready. I hope everyone stuck around for the least cool part. After that, you can leave
You
this
can
podcast.
fuck off.
Yeah, seriously. So, November 1978, so that's 7 years later, a play card printed with instructions for lowering the aft stairs of a 727 was found by a deer hunter near a lodging road about 13 miles east of Castle Rock, well north of Lake Merwin, but within Flight 305's basic flight path. So,
Okay.
they find some sort of printed play card. That one's not too significant. This is the more significant one. 1980. Okay, so 9 years later, 9 years after the events, an 8-year-old named Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family on the Columbia River at a beachfront known as Tina Bar, 9 miles away. He uncovers 3 packets of the ransom cash as he
Oh.
raked the sandy riverbank. I'm reading really like a flowery description of this. Sandy riverbank.
The beautiful sand as the sun set on another night along Columbia River.
Ingram just coming of age. And
Yeah. Pondering the meaning of money and power, greed.
wise beyond his years. Okay, so basically they found some of the money, a very, not much of it, 2 packets of $120 bills and a third packet of 90. We could do the math later. That sounds like a lot, actually. That
That's all
sounds
the money.
like all of the money.
That's
He
all the
only
money.
asked for $100.
Then there's a whole thing about what to do with that money, by the way. Like, they gave some of it to Ingram and then some of it to the Northwest Orient Insurer. I don't even know what's going on here. But anyway, so they found some of the money. That's pretty much the only thing that's been found with this guy and his jump with the
How did they
briefcase.
know that it was the money from the
So
heist?
serial numbers on the bills.
I see.
They took pics before they put it in the bag, I think, right?
Yeah.
before they put it in the bag, when they're getting all this money from the banks, yes, they have some sort of tracking system going on.
The FBI, before robbing these banks at gunpoint, they jotted down the serial numbers of the cash that they were stealing.
And okay, so that's kind of the biggest development in terms of like actual evidence that's been found in terms of, remains or whatever. I don't even want to call it evidence. I feel like it's just a thing.
Well, that's the thing is like Wikipedia.com, before I finally gave up because it's the longest Wikipedia page I've ever seen in my life. But it's
really
FBI
something.
Has had, quote, thousands of what they call serious suspects. That's insane. You don't have thousands of they're not serious suspects. There's 1,000 of them.
One suspect for every dollar DB Cooper stole. It's crazy. Last piece of quote-unquote evidence in 2017, so only 3 years ago, group of volunteer, maybe 4 years ago when you're listening to this podcast, a group...
Wow.
I don't know, it seemed exciting in my head, and then I said it. So a group of volunteer investigators uncovered what they believe to be potential evidence and not much. And finally, the FBI suspends the investigation in 2017.
Yeah, they need to give it up. Hang up those boots. He got away.
Here we go. Okay, so I will reveal the nerdy part of this whole thing. The other thing that they found, just other than the thing from 1980, the agents found Cooper's clip-on tie.
I was really going to be disappointed if this isn't what you were going to call out because it ruined
Let's discuss the clip-on tie.
Oh, man.
Everything. The guy's wearing sunglasses, bourbon and soda. Get me this, do that. So cool. Is that Tacoma? He's wearing a clip-on tie. Little nerd jerky.
It's like a little kid that doesn't want to go to church. Puts on this clip-on tie.
Max, at what age? Max, at what age did you make the transition from clip-on to tie?
I transitioned around when I was a teenager, when hormones were finally being able to be taken. And
what about the tie?
I think in high school, early, I think I had my dad teach me when I went to like my first like formal high school dance.
Oh, that's
you
really
wore
nice.
a tie to a dance?
Yeah,
like really
'cause
formal.
you have like it was like
I
spring
see what you're
fling.
saying.
Like every year in high school, there was like one like formal dance that you asked like a date to.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking of like the ratchet dances that you snuck a water bottle
where
of
you're
vodka
grinding in the gym,
pop, lock, and drop in next to my English teacher.
doing the Dougie.
No, those you wear clip-on ties. You can get clip-ons dirty. You don't want to waste the nice Hermes dye on that.
Yeah.
Hermes. I don't know.
Is Hermes is ties, right?
Probably, yeah. Just very nice ones. Very.
I only
expensive
wear the
ones,
belts.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see here. So, in terms of whether the guy died or not, what do you guys think? No remains. I mean,
You know what sucks and ruins it too is so many people before they died were like, they told their family, they were like, and by the way, I was DB Cooper. And then they croaked. Like that was like their last words, the deathbed confessions. And it's like, ugh, grow up.
Wait, is that for real?
Yeah,
People
so
did
when
that?
we
more
go-
than one person did that?
more than
So
one
many
person did
people
it.
did
A
that.
lot of people want to be this guy, and I get it.
Yeah.
It's cool. I want to tell people I'm DB Cooper, but it's not possible.
The real DB Cooper definitely didn't admit it because I feel like he's way too cool to do that.
Well, let me ask you this too, Ben. How old was he when this happened, and is it possible for DB to still be alive? And if he's still alive, this guy's still fucking.
So they don't know his exact age, but the estimation is that he was like early 40s. So
he could still be kicking around.
He'd be old, but yeah, he could still be alive.
We should
90s,
be tracking
80s.
someone who has been known to keep a clip-on tie during sex. To keep the you got me fucked up if you think the clip-on's coming off during sex.
So I don't know about whether the guy survived or not. So let's get into, I almost don't care whether he survived or not. I feel like that's not the interesting part of the story.
Well,
Yeah,
it is interesting
I mean,
because the guy, they never even, I mean, talk about not getting caught. They never even came close to catching the guy.
Yeah.
And everybody else,
made
by
it.
the way, there were like 46 copycats, and they were all caught within 20 minutes. So,
Yeah.
So let's go through a few of the possible people. One is, okay, so in 2007, this guy Jeffrey Gray from New York Magazine is the first like mainstream journalist to really get access to some of the information. Before that, it's, I guess, just the FBI kind of hoarding everything.
In 2007, geez, it's a long ass time.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
So Lyle Christensen is the suspect that Jeffrey Gray brings up. Christensen. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. So Lyle Christensen contacts Jeffrey Gray, and Lyle Christensen says, "Hey, my brother Kenneth who died. He was D.B. Cooper."
Okay.
wow. And what was the reason behind that?
So we'll get into the reason, but before we get into the reason, I enjoy the fact that Lyle Christensen was obsessed with getting Nora Ephron to make a movie about how he solved the case. Suggested title, Bashful in Seattle.
Why Nora Ephron?
I don't know. It seems...
Oh my god.
That's insane. Well, although, how has this not been made into a movie? This is like you're begging for John Hamm to play this guy into a film. In a film.
Ooh, yeah, I could see it.
Right?
I could see
it.
John Hamm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would like that movie.
I would
I had a
watch
good
that
idea.
movie. That's awards bait if you've ever seen it before.
They did make the documentary. I believe the documentary came out about a week ago. But
really?
Yeah, there was a documentary on HBO
Unrelated.
that came out.
Yeah.
It got panned reviews wise. So this is you're if you're listening, you're in the right place.
Is that true?
Yeah, a movie did come out very recently, but it was just on HBO. So,
But did it get
not
panned?
a,
Is it? Yeah. Is it bad?
It did get panned by one
Yeah.
website that I saw.
Okay.
Ben started a website to trash this documentary.
You should listen to his other podcast.
Yeah,
it does a much better job.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a movie so much as a podcast. 2 stars.
I'll tell you, boy, we were had by this documentary. Speaking of, listen to this podcast that really gets into it.
There's just something about this. There shouldn't be any visual art to this. It's just got to be. This is really something for
Can
listening.
you guys
Okay.
hear my computer having a heart attack during this? Because the microphone's on the computer, and sometimes it does this fun thing where it just sounds like it's going to explode.
No. Can
No,
you?
I don't hear anything.
I don't hear anything. Yeah, it's
All
fine.
right, sorry. And for the listeners, if you didn't hear that, don't worry about it. I have an expensive computer. That's very nice.
He still wears clip-ons. All right, so... okay, so this guy, Kenneth Christensen, who I guess his brother outed him as D.B. Cooper, was a paratrooper in World War II. So he's accusing this, like, war hero.
This medalist.
He then worked as a mechanic and flight purser for, I don't know what that means, for
Yeah,
Northwest Orient Airlines, which was the carrier that Cooper hijacked. There were eerie similarities between Cooper and Kenneth, like the fact that Kenneth loved bourbon.
Okay.
That's
He
it.
bought a
It was him.
house. He bought a house it's an acquired taste. He bought a house not long after the crime occurred.
In parentheses, it says a modest one. That clocks with the amount of money.
Did he stop? Did he stop working? I mean, he'd have to have a full-time job still after having 200,000.
Yeah. That would be cool if he kept working at the airlines that he had just hijacked. That would be great.
No one would suspect a thing. Also, they probably had good benefits. He probably needed him.
Definitely.
Yeah, he was quite the flight purser. The only one. What does that mean? Do you know what that means?
Flight purser?
He is the one that checking your purse before you get on the flight.
Okay.
Just
Which only started after the D.B. Cooper incident. That's when they
First of all,
realized.
they didn't even do it. They didn't even make it a mandatory law to check bags until after like the 10th person did the same exact crime and got caught. They were like, all right, I guess we should start checking for bombs.
Fine. But people are like, I'm so inconvenienced.
So, author Gray showed. Okay, so Kenneth's photo was shown to The only hijack witness who was still alive, I suppose a passenger, it doesn't specify, a woman, a flight attendant, excuse me, that had been on the flight, and she acknowledged the resemblance, and then in parentheses it says, with reservations. And final thing for this Kenneth Christensen example is that on his deathbed, his brother Lyle said that he pulled him close, that Kenneth pulled his brother close and said something that didn't make sense to him, but it does now. Okay. What Kenneth said was, there is something you should know, but I cannot tell you.
Oh, come on.
Oh.
Probably like I fucked your wife.
For all you know.
Yeah, exactly. Same parallel thinking, me and Max.
Did you say that too?
Yes.
He fucked his wife. It's clear he fucked his wife.
Yeah, he just wants him to be D.B. Cooper because he's like, I don't want to admit that my brother fucked my wife for many years. And is the father of probably
kids.
More than one of my children. Yes, exactly.
We have the same thought. Let me tell you something. It's clear. We've
the
been
nice
doing
thing
this
about
podcast
that,
too long.
Keeping it in the family, you know?
That's a fun thing, though, for this author, Jeffrey Gray, to like go into it thinking she solved the D.B. Cooper thing and come out being like, well, I still got a pretty good story about a brother fucking his brother's wife.
That's
New York Magazine will still like this. All right, so the Christensen thing has been a bit debunked. One reason is that Christensen was a paratrooper, and as I said before, the FBI is now pretty convinced that D.B. Cooper didn't know what a parachute was. And the second thing is that Christensen was balding. Cooper was not described. Cooper apparently had a nice head of hair.
Of course he did.
However, in quotes, the brother said Kenny sometimes wore a toupee. So he's really, shitting on his brother after he died.
Yeah, he's really blowing up his spine.
Yeah. I'll go through a few of the other possible people. One was interesting. A woman who transitioned.
Oh.
Barbara Dayton. Could D.B. Cooper have been a woman? Pilot turned author. So formerly Robert Dayton, also a World War II veteran. They're really going after these people with purple hearts. She transitioned in 1969, and I actually believe, just putting this just as a side note, I think it was the first successful sex change done in Washington State.
Oh my God! Wow.
So
and first successful hijacker. Look at her.
It was a woman in disguise? D.B. Cooper was a woman in disguise as a man?
No. She was a trans man.
Yeah, she had already.
Trans man.
She had already transitioned. Yeah.
Is what we're saying.
Oh, that's insane. That's cool.
That would be cool.
Is it weird that it makes it even better?
Yeah, it does make it better. I don't know why, but it does.
It makes it. It makes sense because, how can you not be cool under pressure at that point? You've already done the most stressful thing in your life.
Right. So the thing about Dayton is, again, these reports really don't tell me much. The person who there was a book written about this Barbara Dayton, and it says that Barb was a woman who always lived on the edge. She was a fascinating and remarkable woman. And that's like the big piece of evidence in this article.
That's why it's like, she was a ballsy woman, and she wanted balls. And it's like, wait, what?
What?
That makes her DB? I don't think so. Or him DB? You get it. Crossing wires here.
And we're canceled.
Yeah.
Who else did they think it was? Let's move away from this suspect.
Well, of course, there was possibly William Gossett. He, him pronouns. And
thank you.
Described as a quirky guy with a military background and the necessary physical characteristics, college instructor Gossett, who died in 2003, and told both of his sons several times that he was D.B. Cooper.
I don't know.
His son recalls a strange trip to Vancouver.
To think you're cool.
Yeah.
What would you do if your dad told you he was D.B. Cooper? I would think it was pretty cool.
I think it was super cool, but I also wouldn't believe it.
No, you would never do it. You're a coward. I'm kidding. I would look him in the eyes and say, you're a coward.
The only part I believe is the clip on top.
I think, I mean, at the end of the day, though, I feel like you would. Would you tell people if you did this? I would tell you guys, but I tell you guys everything.
Yeah, I would tell you guys. I wouldn't tell anybody else.
Oh, I would be calling you guys from the plane.
Oh, yeah. I'd be like, you'll never believe what I'm doing right
Yeah, I would, well, at least be texting the group chat.
And they'd be like, May, are you wasted again? I'm like, of course. Yes. I've had many bourbons for some reason.
Part of the ransom will be the cash would be way more than $200,000. Thank you. And I would also make them have you guys get on the plane with me when they land. I need $1.5 million. And the group chat.
You guys want to come to Mexico?
And promise me 200,000 followers on Instagram along with them.
Tickets to the Frida Kahlo Museum in Mexico City.
I don't think it's too much to ask for.
No.
Mexico City is a great city.
You know what? All this really talk is just making me want to go on vacation. You guys, we got to book a flight.
To Reno?
Oh.
Well, I'm going to Tampa this weekend because I insist on getting COVID-19. Like, I will not rest until I get it.
This will not age well if you end up getting COVID.
I know. I will be careful. I'm just kidding. Okay. I already saw my family for the fall holidays. Fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's no one.
So we've got another one, possibly John List. And this one is considered...
John List. Isn't he he's a guy who committed familicide.
Yeah.
Which is...
What do you mean?
Killed his
Murdered his family?
Yeah.
So May knows John List from his other works. Yeah.
I love how May hears his name and she's like, I know this guy.
Oh, I'm an encyclopedia when it comes to murderers.
The article that I read, this same article that's, as I'm reading it further, is super reliable. Could he have been Cooper? John List meaning. Could he have been Cooper? Probably not, but why not throw his name in there anyway? No. In 1989, in the wake of List's high-profile arrest, the LA Times offered the following speculation. All right, LA Times, all right. John List is one of any number of people suspected in the D.B. Cooper case. He will be investigated until he is eliminated.
Okay.
Wait, when did he kill his family?
He killed his family in 1971, and then he was on the lam for a really long time. So he could have been D.B. Cooper getting the money.
Oh my gosh! So he killed his family, went into it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that explains you're cool under pressure because you've already done the worst thing in your life.
He's already murdered his entire fucking family.
At that point,
and left them under like the floorboards, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
He did it. The last thing his wife said to him before he killed him, her and the children, is she said, "I hate your clip-on ties." And this makes sense. Lose the clip-ons.
He flew into a rage and just murdered everybody. His kids, everybody.
This tracks.
I will wear this clip-on tie.
There would really be no reason to capture him. I mean, I guess you want to solve the mystery in general, but it's like they don't need the information to like put him in jail. Like they got enough on him. There's they don't.
And they're not trying to recoup all that money. It's like $2. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, so Dan Cooper was a fake name. You know what the problem is, too, is that in 1971, you could buy a plane ticket with a fake name, with a bomb in your bag, and just smile and go on there. That's why this was so easy to get away with, by the way.
That's so insane. They didn't have to take their shoes off, nothing.
He bought the plane ticket in cash, had a bomb in his bag, and was like, and they were like, "What's your name, honey?" He goes, "Dan," and then he just hops on the plane.
His name is just John List. He's just a serial murderer, and they're like, "Great, come on the plane with your bomb." The only question they ask people before getting on a plane is like, "You're not going to make this go to Cuba, are you?" And then that was it. That was the only.
Oh God,
question.
Not one of these back to Cuba guys.
How come people kept going to Cuba? What did they want there?
Well, this was during the crisis, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Gold.
It's always gold.
Cigars.
Baseball players. I don't know.
Baseball players.
So, list of Cuba. So a lot of hijackings variously been attributed to terrorism, extortion, flight for political asylum. That could be part of it. Mental illness, but that doesn't explain why Cuba in particular. I guess so. Bad relationship.
No extradition.
Bad relationship. Right. So I guess there's a bad relationship between Cuba and the United States.
And it's a
clearly
quick
at
shot.
this time during the Cold War. And looks like they were just in 1970 they made hijacking a crime. I mean, we're really I guess before it was just a slap on the wrist.
Before that was the honor system. Guys, if you're going to take this flight, please just let it go where it's supposed to. Please.
That was just part of the... And wear your seatbelts. Just seatbelts and just...
Every time you bought a ticket for a flight, it was a suggested destination. It wasn't guaranteed that you would end up where you were supposed to. Most likely going to Seattle.
But more likely going to Cuba.
Any flight could be a Cuban flight if you try hard enough.
Those were the only two airports.
Back for both weather.
All right. I mean, listen, this one, how are we supposed to not get had when the entire FBI, first of all, the bungling FBI was had by this one? When's the last time
I
the
am
FBI
not impressed by
solved
the
a case?
FBI on
Those
this.
corrupt bastards.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, I would say
killing
that we were
JFK,
definitely
they would have done
had.
it immediately, but they couldn't find DB Cooper for 40 years. I would like to know, Ben, all right, what does your heart tell you? You read the closest to this page. You did the most research. Who's DB Cooper?
I think DB Cooper is... I think he died, first of all. Let's start with that.
You do think he
really?
didn't make
Okay.
it?
I don't think he made it. I think that something water related explains the lack of remains.
The support to your thing is that, I mean, none of the money was ever used, right? And like all these
None
news
of the
outlets,
money was ever used.
all of these news outlets had like thousands of dollars in rewards for anybody who had a single dollar that matched this serial number, and nobody ever brought it forward. People brought things forward, but none of them ever actually matched.
Could he have gotten to like Europe or something and then just changed the money over? Were they tracking that as well, or no?
You can launder back. The criminals was a lot easier to do crime back then. It was golden age for crime. The 70s, you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Why would you get a job in the 70s? Do crime.
Yeah,
it's the most
stupid
lucrative career.
to get a job.
It's easy. You can't get caught. Let me tell you that.
The president did crime. That's how in crime was. Yeah. The president was robbing places.
Okay. And if
so was the FBI.
Die, can I ask you this, Ben? Is it possible that it was aliens? Was DB Cooper an alien?
I don't know. I'm going to need some proof like in this article where it's like, well, he was kind of quirky, so it was probably someone from Uranus or Neptune, whatever.
An alien. I'm going to say I think it's this List character. John
You think it was
List.
the murderer?
I almost said Joe List.
Joe List killed his family. You heard it here first, and then robbed this plane. Joe List is actually factually 85 years old. Just has a great skincare regimen.
He's coming over later. I'll have to ask him. Are you DB Cooper?
Hey, Joe, did you kill your family?
Be honest. But I actually do think it's John List, and the reason that I say that is because he was described by everybody around him, like at the time when they figured out he killed his whole family, that he was like super nice, and you would never expect him to do something like that. He was super like kept to himself, really reserved, and that's the same demeanor, which is like eerie and weird, like when he's about to do what he's about to do. So I'm gonna go with John List. I think it's fun. It's an interesting one.
How about you, Max?
I don't think it's any of the above. I really think this guy landed and fucking disappeared, and they have no idea. You don't have 1,000 suspects, and one of your best ones is also a guy who was a murderer. That's insane. I'm sorry. And you also have the picture. Does it look like anything like the guy? Does it look anything like the guy? I didn't look, so I'm not saying accusatory. I actually don't know.
Yeah, I actually don't know either. Let's get a John List up here.
Oh, okay. So DB Cooper, that was the sketch of DB Cooper. The listeners
Can I also say, you're looking at the sketch right now, and folks, you can Google this, but he has an alien-shaped head. It's one of those things where it's like round at the top and pointed at the bottom.
It is a little bit weird.
That's an alien head.
I mean, it looks exactly like John List.
May
Does
and
it look
I
like
are
John
looking
List?
at photos of John List and the sketch of DB Cooper. They look alike.
It's
Tell
him.
you what, that's pretty cool. But did he go to jail? Did they catch him eventually?
They did, yeah.
Oh.
But I don't remember how, actually.
I mean, it's good that they caught this murderer, but I was rooting for
yeah.
DB.
He murdered a lot of people. He had like a full-on new family, I'm pretty sure, too, unless I'm
my God.
making that up.
No, it says here that John List was married to another woman, Dolores Clark, from 1985 to 1989.
Wow. Yeah. And then they found him. And then
last question, Ben, and this is something that like caught my eye, but I forget it was. There was only one time that the flight crew said that he was like curt. Do you remember? Like they asked him a question. They were like, "Do you need help back there?" And he was like, "No." There was like one thing that Wikipedia.
Oh, there was
pointed
one
out.
time. I don't think I saw that. There was like one thing where he lost his cool.
Talk amongst yourselves. This was. I laughed. I was like, because like they said this. They were like, there was only one time that he was like curt.
Oh, I really hope it was something insignificant. I really hope it was a minor detail.
These peanuts are too salty.
Yeah. At approximately 8 p.m., a warning light flashed in the cockpit indicating that the aft air steer apparatus had been activated. The crew's offer of assistance via the aircraft's intercom system was curtly refused. They asked him if he wanted help with anything, and he's like, "No." Oh.
He had his own
Which makes me believe like they were like hanging out. They were having fun on this plane. Like him and the crew were just like joking around.
Might as well have fun while you're getting hijacked. You know what I mean? I'd be like, whatever. I'm a flight attendant. I make like $10 an hour. Might as well have a little fun.
I mean, what a hilarious story. This is the best way to be on a hijacked plane is to not realize until afterwards. All those crew members. That's such a good dinner party story. That's such a good story.
How many planes that took longer than were expected that you were on do you think were actually hijackings?
By me or by someone else?
Answer either.
I every time anything's ever been delayed, I don't believe what they tell you because they don't want you to panic.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I'm not saying it's always a hijacking, but there's always something more to it.
Yeah, I think so. My brother's a pilot, and he would concur with that. He's like, we're always, I mean, you know, obviously we're not going to take off when we think that the plane's going down.
Your brother's a pilot? That's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah.
I mean, all this time I just thought you were Massachusetts trash. I didn't know we had like a fun job.
Yeah, he lives in Puerto Rico, so he's still trash.
Yeah. Oh, fun. All right, so where are we leaving this?
I'm going to say that I was not had, and I solved it, and it's John List.
I'm going to say, if it is John List, decidedly less cool and sexy of a thing to do, DB Cooper. Leave it at the plane hijacking. Don't kill your family, kids. But I'm going to say, you know what? Everybody was had. The FBI is useless. This guy's still kicking, still fucking, still clip-on tying.
I'll even add on to that. I think this guy is so cool that his actual name is Dan Cooper. I don't think he gave an alias at all. I think the guy... I'm going to add another thing. Yes, he had a bomb with him, but I think he came up with the plan a few hours before he did.
He didn't even know what he was going to do with that bomb.
You never know.
That's why the money is so low. He's like, the 200,000, I don't know.
He was totally winging it.
Yeah.
He was just... He got up that morning. He said, Carpe diem. Seize the day. Let's do this.
He gave that girl the note, and then he tugged her on the shirt and was like, you're going to want to read that. I mean, come on. Come on.
Listen.
Oh, that's fun. This was a fun one.
This was a fun one.
This is I really enjoyed this mystery. I was a little nervous about this mystery only because, like, if we just kind of listed suspects, then I felt like that would be sort of lame. But the story itself is just so
it's so
interesting.
Cool. I mean, that's what's like, it's insane. Like, I mean, Argo won an Oscar. Like, you can't make, why isn't this a movie? Argo was a great story as well. But anything involving a plane and it's tense and it's a cool villain, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I feel like the Argo argument, though, is used like when someone's pitching any movie. It doesn't have to be about planes. It's just like you're pitching some movie and you're just like, come on, make the movie. Argo won an Oscar, for God's sake. This movie's going to do fine.
Make the movie. Argo won. Come on.
Just
roll the dice.
Bashful in Seattle. Let's do it.
Bashful in Seattle.
With Nora Ephron. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good night.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.